to add to the agenda? No, see, none, and we don't really adopt these, the agenda or the minutes, do we, Jacob?
There was like 12 or...
They'll need to be adopted.
The agenda?
Yes.
I just looked in the minutes and I didn't see that they were. So we really can't make a motion though without a quorum, right?
Correct.
Okay, so we'll go with our agenda.
Okay.
Anybody have any pecuniary interest, conflict? No. All right, let's get to the main part of our evening and our presentation. So Christina, maybe if you could introduce our presenter, that would be wonderful.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay there? Yeah, okay, perfect. So I have Constable Brandon Wagner here. So he's one of the officers at the Norfolk County Detachment, and he's also an instructor for the Project Lifesaver program. So he teaches it to the officers on the road there. And I thought I'd bring him in to just explain it a little further, since he's the pro.
Great.
Hi, everyone. So as Staff Klingbeil mentioned, my name is Brandon Wagner. So I've been with Project Lifesaver for 11 years now, since the OPP started at Norfolk County in 2010. And what Project Lifesaver is it's not necessarily the pieces of equipment, it's an actual program. So it's a program that runs in partnership with usually a community service group. So in some communities, they use victim services. Other communities, something like the Lions Club or the Lionesses. In Norfolk County, it's the community policing group. Specifically Michelle Huff, who had started it. And then they partner with the local police service, and they in turn kind of do a three-way partnership with Project Lifesaver International, and they're based out of Chesapeake, Virginia. So Project Lifesaver consists of a transmitter, and then we have a receiver. And the basic premise of it is that a high-risk client would wear this transmitter, and if they were to go wandering, if they were to go missing, the police could be contacted, and we would conduct a search utilizing this antiquated equipment. Now, I say antiquated because it looks like something from 1930, because it uses radio technology. But it is actually the most reliable piece of technology out there for this type of search. So the types of clients that we normally see are people who are suffering with Alzheimer's or dementia, and then we also have clients who are autistic children. Pretty much anybody who would be prone to wandering can be part of the Project Lifesaver program, but primarily that's what we see is people with Alzheimer's or dementia and still residing at home. I know just from a personal side of things, my wife's grandfather had Alzheimer's, and the whole thing is to keep them at home as long as possible. That's what the family wanted to do, but as the disease progressed, it became more and more worrisome of kind of the flight risk of getting out and wandering and then being lost. So I wish 20 years ago that this had existed in Ontario. Unfortunately, it didn't, because everyone that we talk to who's been part of the program talk about how much peace of mind it gives. So just a quick snippet here about the technology. So like I said, when I talked about it kind of being antiquated, what it does is it sends out pulsed radio waves every second. So it is just like a radio signal, and it acts like a beacon. The advantage to that is it doesn't draw a lot of power. So we can put a battery in here and they get changed out every 30 days. But the battery in reality is good for probably about 45 days. We just like to give that buffer zone. So we don't have to worry about constantly recharging or switching out batteries, every couple of days. The battery is good for at least a month in this thing. It sends out that pulse radio wave, and then we use these receivers with these funky metal antennas to pick up those pulse signals. And it's actually the same technology that aircraft use in their black boxes as backup locators. So I always kind of equate it to, yes, it might be antiquated from 1930, but they're still using it today in black boxes. So if there was something better, don't you think they'd really be using that? The second piece that I'll give out there, so there's two of us who are instructors here at Norfolk. The other is Brent Thompson. He was one of our canine officers. He was a canine handler for 8 years, dedicated a lot of his time to that program, and he's very passionate about it. And he often gets mad when we get called to somebody who's lost or missing, and officers are walking all around the property and trampling the scene because that ruins the scent for his dog, and he usually smacks our hand for that. But that being said, in his own words, if there was somebody who was equipped with a Project Lifesaver transmitter, he would take this every day over a dog tracking somebody, their scent. It's that good. Yeah, so that's kind of the quick snippet about the program. Again, it's done in partnership. So Michelle mainly through community policing handles the majority of the administrative side of things. So she will handle the applications that come in. She will vet those applications to make sure that the person who the program is meant for actually meets the qualification. And it's not just somebody who wants to put a transmitter on their spouse to keep track of them. Believe me, we see all these kinds of applications. And then once that process has been vetted and she's okay with that, then she'll forward the paperwork on to me. And we maintain all of the equipment here at the Norfolk detachment. So I'll just kind of double check it. And then what I do is I create an incident for that person on our computer system. And I flag the individual, identifying them as part of this program. And then I assign them one of these transmitters. And each transmitter has a unique frequency number. So identify what that frequency number is. So that if that person does go missing and that call does come into the police, then right away it'll pop up that they're part of Project Lifesaver and what their frequency is, so that officers can right away obtain this equipment from our office and then deploy to that area to start searching. This transmitter here, it is not very aesthetically pleasing, but this is what Project Lifesaver International has for us. So I'll bring it a little closer to the camera. So it's about the size of a watch face there. We encourage people, especially if it's with children, they can put stickers and decorate it, anything that they want to try to make it a little more pleasing for the person to wear. And then it just goes on their either arm like a watch. And then these bands are just a nylon band, which can be removed every 30 days for the battery to be changed out. These devices are waterproof. So an individual can go swimming, they can bath, they can shower. They're waterproof up to 30 feet. So there's no, and again, like especially now that we're getting the nicer weather, sweat, sunscreen, all that kind of stuff, it's completely protected in this housing from all of that. The only exception to wearing it is we have had one young fella, he was 6 years old. He was a low functioning autism. He would not wear this. I think I was at that house every other day to try to put a new transmitter on him. A few times he had thrown them out and lost it. So what we can do is we have the person's shoe, a spot in the sole hollowed out, and then we can put the transmitter inside the sole of the shoe. It's not perfect because it's not guaranteed that the person will be wearing that particular shoe, but for children, usually they have one pair of running shoes, and that's what we found has worked kind of in the past for us. So that's Project Lifesaver in a nutshell. Do you guys have any questions about that?
Does anyone have any questions for Brandon? I have a couple. Or Dan, did you have something?
No, I was going to say I'm good.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brandon, for being here. Very informative. I just wondered, is there any cost for the individual?
Yes, so the cost is $390 for the individual, plus $45 a year for the battery changes. Because of COVID right now, we're training family members or caregivers to do those battery changes. But before COVID, it was a group of volunteers that were going into the home and changing the battery and then doing a function test to ensuring that the transmitter was working. Now that being said, $390 might not sound like much, but to some people that can be the world. Mm-hmm. So Project Lifesaver, how we have it set up, is that we charge just a little bit more than what these actually cost per unit. And we have a small fund put together so that if somebody cannot afford it, that we will insure. So the bottom line is that anyone in Norfolk County, if you need Project Lifesaver and you meet the criteria, you will get it. Wow. We just very much encourage, if you can pay, that just helps sustain the program to make that payment. But absolutely, if you can't afford it, we'll cover the cost. We'll get that paid for you.
Wow, that's great. So if a person is in long-term care or a facility, they are not eligible for the transmitter. Is that right?
No. So a lot of they're still eligible because there's a lot of long-term care facilities in Norfolk that aren't secured. So which means that the person has free access or the doors aren't secured in such a way there's no keypad entry type
Right.
thing. So there's, I think right now off the top of my head, we have about six clients that are in long-term care with this. We just found sometimes that if somebody were to transition from their residence into a long-term care home that had a secure facility, the family returned the transmitter saying that they no longer required it. They felt that the facility enough was good enough. Sure. So no, just because you're in long-term care, if the family would still want this, we're more than happy to provide that additional layer of security for them.
That's great. And like, is there an annual report, or how many people would, how many times would you go out in a month or a year, or I suppose it varies?
It absolutely does vary. We've gone a whole year and not had to do a single search, which is amazing. And then we've had it where we've had 5 or 6. Mm-hmm. As far as an annual report, there's no annual report that gets made to the Police Services Board or anything like that. But every time we do a search, we have to do an action report to Project Lifesaver International in Virginia.
I see.
So we don't necessarily keep track of every search we do here. As far as like a specific report just for Project Lifesaver, but we do a report every time the equipment is used to Project Lifesaver International.
For sure, that's great. So post-COVID, do you expect that the volunteers will continue with the battery changes, or Michelle had said something about the library being in partnership with that process?
Yeah, I hope the volunteers are still interested in doing it. There's always other avenues as well. We have victim services here in Haldimand and Norfolk, so we've also considered approaching victim services to see if their volunteers would be willing to, take on 1 or 2 clients each kind of a month. If they don't, it's a bit of a slippery slope. The way the program works is that it has to work in partnership. So to be quite frank, if all of a sudden whatever community service group is running Project Lifesaver finds that they can't do it or handle it anymore, the police would be unable to assume that role and the program would have to collapse. So I know Michelle is working very hard to ensure that doesn't happen. Right now, I'll be honest, the caregivers and the family seem to be doing an awesome job over the last year of changing the batteries, and confident in doing that. I've had a few that, you know, maybe the husband or wife or their spouse is also elderly, so it's not necessarily what we're supposed to be doing, but I've gone into a few homes and kind of walked them through it a few times just to make sure they're comfortable and proficient with it. So that's always an option that we could continue with that. But if the volunteers are still there, absolutely, we'd love to see that continue.
That's great.
Yeah, Michelle had said that she was looking for some place where people could go, and that's why I actually had talked to Heather King and CEO of the library, and she said the library was on board to you guys could work in partnership with the library.
Oh, so somebody would attend the library and then they could have that change there.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. And again, probably for 75% of the people that would work very well. Then you have maybe some of the others that my only concern with that would be, you know, you forget timelines and all of a sudden now it's been 2 months and somebody's changed a battery because they're the ones that have to go to the library, as opposed to somebody coming to them to make sure it's done every 30 days.
Yeah.
So for 75% of the people, though, I could see that working very well. Yeah, no, I would totally be on board with anything like that. Anything to continue with the program. Like I said, I've been with it since it started in 2010, and it's just an incredible program. Like it's so simple, but it is so truly effective.
That's great.
Cool.
And Michelle did let me know that she has, I think she said $6,100 worth of equipment at her home. I don't know.
Yes, well, so this receiver that I have here, this is one of the new ones. It's called the PLI 3000. Sounds all fancy. It still looks like a giant TV antenna. But these are one of the newer receivers. We have 2 old receivers additionally. So we have 2 of these new ones and 2 older ones. Well, one thing that we found when we ran our most recent training course in February is that one of the old receivers was giving faulty signals, right? It's 10, 11 years old. So I know Michelle was ordering a bunch of equipment for us. I had requested some new equipment just to make sure that at least when we go to do a search that it's working properly.
That's great. And she's right on top of this, so that will be great. She sent her regrets tonight, but I know she's got everything under control there for sure. So one other question, what is the range of that receiver?
That's actually an awesome question. So the range of this handheld receiver is approximately 1.5 kilometers. Now, what we can do with this is I can unplug the cable to this receiver and plug in, it almost looks like a whip antenna, like what you'd see on the back of a police car, a nice tall aerial. So we magnet a tall aerial to the police car that we're operating, hook this thing up, and we can drive around, and we can get a 1/4 mile on either side of our cruiser. But that is just kind of like a broadband. It's just picking up the signal. And then when we get out with this, we can hone in on it and we can get 1.5 kilometer range on this.
Wow, that's great.
So just as kind of a reference, does everybody know where the jetty is in Turkey Point? It's all the way at the end of Ordnance.
Yep.
Yeah. So we had officers start there and had a scenario that a person had wandered away from the jetty 2 hours previous and no idea where this person is, and pretty much go find them. And 2 officers, it took them on average 25 minutes to find the person, and we hid the person up in the provincial park. So up the hill and far enough into the wooded areas of the provincial park where it would be the 80 kilometer an hour start, so closer to Charlotteville Road 1. And on average, it only took them about 25 minutes.
Wow.
And talking to our search coordinators, if we had to implement a full ground search as far as the OPP is concerned, with 30 officers, it would take us 2.5 to 3 days to get to that point to do a full ground search. And our officers were finding them on average within about 25, 26 minutes.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. So Brandon, other than supporting this program, is there anything that the members of this committee can do?
What I'd really like to see is so when the program started in 2010, we had a lot of media blitzes about it, a lot of advertising. We went to different fairs and expos, advertising the program. In the last few years, that's kind of dropped off. What I would be interested in is kind of a brainstorming of ideas as to what we could do to kind of bring this out again, to let the community know that it exists. Because so many times we go to people's homes where somebody has wandered and we conduct a search and we end up finding the person, and we approach them about Project Lifesaver and they have no idea it exists, period, let alone in the community. So a lot of our advertising is word of mouth right now. Right now we have 30 clients on Project Lifesaver here in Norfolk. And just to bring that into perspective, we have the largest client base out of every single OPP detachment that runs this program,
Wow.
including Essex, which includes Windsor. So out of all of that population base, we actually have the most clients in Norfolk. And I think part that has to do with the advertising that Michelle and Staff Sergeant Rick Tout did and the onset of that program. But it's kind of fizzled out now. People have kind of forgotten about it. And now that they need it, they have no idea it exists.
Wow. Well, I think we have an expert on. Jacob could certainly help us with that. So maybe we can do some brainstorming, like you say, and get the word out. What, as far as timelines, would that be something we could think about now, or should we have a push in the fall after COVID, or in the summer? What do you think, Brandon?
Well, I know COVID is a concern for everybody, and as it should be, but I mean, people suffering with Alzheimer's and dementia, that COVID's not stopping that, right? And we're seeing more and more, and especially with the restrictions in long-term care homes, we're starting to see more and more people staying at home longer than maybe they probably should. And I personally noticed an increase in our missing and wandering people in the county, and I think that has an impact to it as well. So sooner than later, I wouldn't wait till the fall.
Okay.
Yeah, just to kind of get that word out there, but finding creative ways to get the word out there to advertise that this program is around.
All right. Well, we can certainly take care of that. And maybe we can connect with you and Michelle to get some basic information, and that would be wonderful.
Awesome.
Excellent. Anyone else have any questions or comments about the program?
No, I'm good.
All right. Jacob, Gord Rollo just let me know that he got kicked off somehow and he's trying to reconnect. So I don't know what's happening there. But,
Okay, I will try and give him a shout.
all right, that's great. Well, thank you so much, Brandon. I really appreciate this. Has been very informative, and I'm certain that we can certainly help out and get the push out for some advertising and awareness. And that is something, though, that we have the 30 clients, the most of anyone around. So thank you for your service. My goodness, this is great. We really appreciate it. So.
Thank you very much. I'm very, like I said, I'm very much very passionate about the program because I see the benefits to it. So I appreciate you guys letting me take the time to talk to you about it.
Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah,
Take
and from
care.
my standpoint, I learned a whole lot just from, that presentation. So thank you.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm just going to have a quick chat with Officer Wagner.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Okay, well, for anybody who's still on, Dan, is it just you and I? I don't know. I think we have one other person. Do we know who that is? No.
I have just me, Gene.
Okay. I see a +1, but I don't know who that is. That Christina? No, I don't know.
Oh, I'm back.
Okay. So I don't know about Gord, if he can continue on. But anyways, that was a really good information, and I think we could probably do some. Jake, I put you up there. I mean, this is your wheelhouse and how we can get some info out to the community. Any suggestions on how we might get started on that, or?
Yeah, I would contact the local media. I'm sure they'd be interested in something along those lines, especially because you do have some visual components as well with some of the information. I'm sure there's a lot of people within the community that would be interested in knowing exactly how it works. And I'm sure, Gene, you would have talked to a lot of families that might be interested in utilizing the program.
Yeah, that would be great. So I'll contact Michelle, and maybe through her and Brandon, we could get some kind of story in the paper and some other media outlets. So that would be great. All right. So I don't know how far we want to go. It doesn't look like Gord is getting back on. I just wanted to. I don't think we really need to go through the minutes. What's your suggestion, Christina? Should we go through the rest of the agenda, or just?
I'm good. If you want me to go over my stuff here.
Oh yes, I would like you to, for sure. But as far as the minutes, Jacob, there was just one thing. Josh Lightheart said that he was present at the last meeting and he wasn't listed as being present.
Okay, I will make that correction.
Okay. So other than that, are we good with the minutes? Oh, yeah, all right. So, yeah, if we could, I think we'll leave the some of the other things, the mission statements and that. But Christina, if you wouldn't mind going through your report, that would be great.
Yeah, for sure. It was emailed out there regarding from May 2021. So these stats are from the start of the year here. So on the first page there where it has the domestics, the good thing is any domestic disturbances have gone down so far this year. So it'd be nice if we stay on track with that. On the next page, Mental Health Act related calls, it's gone down a bit too, just from 495 to 492. So we hope it keeps going down. I know there's a lot of stresses out there for many individuals with COVID, but hopefully we stay on that track. Break and enters, they've gone down. You will usually see a bit of an increase in the summer months, but at least overall so far it's been still going down. And same with mischief, and big decrease in theft from motor vehicles, which is a good sign. And the illicit drugs, it's slightly gone down there from 60 to 57 so far.
Christina, can I bother you? Could you explain what would that entail when it said illicit drugs? Is that like charging someone, or what would that be?
Yeah, correct. Any occurrences in regards to that. So the drugs can be from cannabis or other drugs such as cocaine or fentanyl too. So any occurrences related to that.
So would overdoses be included in that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. And on to the focus patrols. So we continue to have patrols in regards to COVID education and enforcement. So officers out there just trying to spread the word about especially now with the stay-at-home order. So we have them out patrolling. Also with the cottage patrol, I know here it says to May 1st, but we're actually going to still continue that on for now, making patrols, especially again with the stay-at-home order. There's not as many people down at their cottages, so we're keeping an eye on that. In regards to traffic, we have the West Region Collision Reduction Plan, so that includes members from our West Region traffic team. that normally work out of London at the headquarters there, but they come here and help to focus on collision reduction and enforcement along with our members. So we also focus in regards to that when they say the big four. So it's the speeding, seatbelt impaired, and the inattentive drivers. So that's when they mention that. That's what that's about. In regards to ERT ATV patrol, so the ERT is our emergency response team. So they usually are in a blue uniform, but if you ever see those guys in the green uniform out and about, so they put the green uniform if they're out, like Officer Wagner was saying, searching for a missing person. They put the green uniform on, or if they're involved in a high priority call, such as a barricaded person type call, then they put the green uniform on. So all of them are trained on ATVs, and we have actually 4 of the officers that work out of our detachment. So they'll be doing ATV patrols along with some of our patrol officers too that have ATV training. So they're out and about just making sure people are safe on the trails there. We received lots of complaints from Port Dover residents regarding traffic concerns. So we continue with a focused patrol there, and we've kept it till September just to continue with that during the busy summer months. So depending how the stay-at-home order goes. There were the complaints about Delhi parking there, mostly due to the snow and the proper, so they could get to the proper snow clearing there with people parking areas they shouldn't. So there were 18 parking tickets issued. So in regards to that, we work along with bylaw. We have a good relationship with that. So we assist them with the bylaw tickets. There was a speed spy study done on Norfolk Street South, but it didn't show any type of issues there with the speeding. So it was set up, but from the study, everything seemed good.
Sorry to interrupt, but what does Speed Spy? How do they do that?
So it measures the speeds of all the vehicles 24/7, and then it'll take a certain percentage of our vehicles actually speeding. It's around the clock, and how many vehicles and how many have been over a certain speed limit, how many under. So I could actually have the officer come and explain it a little further that actually deals with these speed spies and set it up if that's something maybe
Sure.
for another meeting, because they're more educated on it than myself.
Right.
But so they gather all the information from every car over that time period, and then it's decided has this been a problem or not. So some places we've set up a speed spy where we get complaints where there's all these speeders, and then when we actually look at the numbers, there's been maybe over a month, maybe 2 cars that are actually going, say, 10 over the speed limit. So sometimes it can even be the perception that there's a speeding issue, but when it's measured, it's not actually an issue. So so that's the reason behind that.
So is it tracked by the signs that tell you how fast you're going, like the one going into Dover, or what? How is it tracked?
It's a different one. It's almost like a camera. You wouldn't see it, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So
it could be anywhere.
yeah. So it's hidden, but it's after we get a bunch of basically
Right.
community complaints. That's when it's decided where we put the speed spies.
Right.
So.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you.
No problem. And then I went through the media releases from the last couple months, just some ones that I thought are sort of neat and thought you might find interesting here. So there was theft from a motor vehicle in Long Point. So there was an unknown individual attended the property. They actually forced entry into a vehicle that was parked in the driveway. A quantity of tools were stolen, approximately $4,000 in value of these tools. So there was video surveillance from one of the houses there. So they captured that it was a blue colored Ford Escape on this video surveillance, and they sent it out to all the officers. And actually an officer ended up observing that vehicle and from this video and stopped the vehicle, ended up being the person in the video in that vehicle. So they were charged with theft under, possession of property obtained by crime, and mischief. So it was very neat how it comes together in situations like that. Another thing, and this is more to pass on to people, just to be very careful with the internet, and not to be sharing any images or videos over the internet that you don't want forwarded. So we had a case of extortion here where a Norfolk County resident met a female online, and they began corresponding back and forth. The individual sent an inappropriate picture to this unknown female online, and then the female demanded money, or she was going to send the photo to family and friends. So the individual didn't send any money, but we were contacted in the meantime. And so the issue is, right, any explicit conversations or videos or anything that's said online, it's always there, right? You can't make it disappear. And fortunately, we've come across a few situations like that. So just people have to be very careful of what they put online there.
And it's not, sorry, it's not just the young people either, right?
Yeah, you're correct, right? And you don't always know who you're actually, maybe talking to on the other end, right? So they might not be who they appear to be. So
yeah.
There was a search warrant executed at a Talbot Street South address in Norfolk County, and 3 individuals there were charged with possession of methamphetamine. So pretty serious drugs. So the different individuals, varying ages too, for 24, 34, and 40. And on Thursday, April 29th, there was a break and enter in progress at a Norfolk Street South address. And when officers attended, they did locate the individual on scene there and arrested him. So actually his name was released to the media. So 31-year-old Wesley Lawrence James Taylor of Mississauga. So that was a good arrest, right, to get this guy out of town here. So, and that's just thought I'd share those ones with you. And I guess one other thing too, if you're talking to friends and family, just to make sure that people are leaving their houses unlocked, garages, cars, and especially cars with purses left in it, right? Just if people really need to be cognizant of locking things up. So, because it's an easy crime of opportunity, right, when things are left unlocked.
Sure. Well, thank you for your report. Did anybody have any questions or comments? Always, Dan?
Well, since I'm the only other one, not really. I just my curiosity was about that one incident in Waterford, since I live in Waterford, where I know it was on the corner of Church and Church Street, and there was like a break-in, and some guy caught him en route. Or I remember reading it about a month or 2 ago. Do you remember that, Jean?
I do, but I don't remember the details.
Yeah.
Anyways, I just my curiosity, since it's my neighborhood, right?
Yeah. So the individual was caught by officers leaving the scene. Is that?
No, by the homeowner. He beat up the homeowner. Wasn't it? Something of that nature?
I think yes, there was some kind of altercation.
Altercation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to check back and to see which one that was.
It might have been more than 2 months ago, but I know it was this year. So that's all. I just never heard any follow up to it, right? So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll jot that down and ask there.
That's just me being nosy. It's okay.
Yeah. No, now I'm nosy.
Yeah. It's always nice to have an update on these things for sure.
Yeah, I just didn't know if it was like why it happened, right? That's kind of where it's like, was it just an altercation? Like, were they trying to rob and he got caught, or?
There's something more to it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay. Yeah.
All righty. Anything else, Christina, that you want to add?
No, all's good. So it's been a busy year for the officers with COVID, right? So
Yeah. It's it's a tough time for sure. Yeah.
mhm.
Okay, well, as I said, I don't think we'll go through the mission and the terms of reference. We want everyone here, and maybe Jacob and Christina and we will connect and make sure we have a proper list of members, and also if we need to recruit more members, we'll have to go through the process. I think, Jacob, that would be your responsibility to put something out from the county. Is that right?
Yeah, sort of. We could talk after, Gene, but we may actually have someone that will be in my position as the secretary sooner rather than later, but that's something that we can chat about
Okay.
off camera.
All righty. That sounds good. Sounds good. Well, if there's nothing else, we'll sign off. We got done a little bit early. And Dan, anything else to report or?
No, I'm just very thankful for living in Norfolk and the good job our OPP do.
Mhm.
Thanks, Dan.
Sure. And we certainly don't understand what, like Christina has said, it's been a year now with COVID, and it really impacts the job and how it's performed, right? And just that extra stress. And we certainly appreciate the officers for sure, and all the staff. We are lucky to live in Norfolk, so we do thank you for sure.
Thank you.
All right, so I guess we can break off, and again, we'll be in contact, and I wonder about a next meeting date. We're at the middle of May now. Will we meet before the summer, or I think our terms of reference say we have to meet 4 times a year.
So my question would be, Gene, does this one actually count since we didn't have quorum?
Yeah, not really. It won't. But yeah, we've just had one meeting so far this calendar year, right?
That is correct.
In March. Yeah. Well, I'll send out an email then and maybe talk to Christina and see if we could get another meeting in and get some of this wrapped up before the summer. Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll find a mutually convenient date for everyone. So that would be great. All right. Well, thank you, Christina, and thank you for inviting Brandon. That was really a great presentation. Please give him our thanks. Yeah.
I will. Yeah, I was impressed. So yeah, it was good.
Great job. Great job. And Jacob, thank you for being there in the background and taking all our notes, and we'll connect and we can sort some of these details out.
No problem. Thanks, Gene.
Okay, and Dan, thank you for being here. Gord, I just got a text from him, he couldn't get back in, so next time.
Well,
all right, so we're good to go. Thank you, everyone. We'll have a good evening, and we'll talk soon. Take care.
Yeah.
Good night.
Night.